Chapter 4. Now that everyone was aware of their strange behavior, they wanted it fixed, and fast. The problem was that nobody had any idea how to fix it. Later that night, after they had attended their various meetings and clubs and had an unusually quiet dinner, the girls gathered in Astra and Clover's room, where they could talk freely. After everyone was settled on couches, chairs, and the floor, Astra started the conversation. I know it was kind of shocking to watch Vega's holovid today and be able to see how you all have been acting. Piper and I think the key to finding out why it is happening has to do with the fact that the two of us are acting normally. Leona snorted. Very funny, Leona, said Astra. She smiled. Well, acting as normally as we usually act anyway. Adora typed into her Stars app and passed it to Piper, who sat next to her. This had become her new way of communicating, since she had been informed that her voice was inaudible. Clearly, it was your trip to Wish World, she'd written. Piper considered this and shook her head. Oh, I don't think so, she said. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's just a coincidence, Astra informed her. What makes you think that? Asked Gemma. Because Piper and I never acted odd, even before we went to Wish World, Astra explained. So it must be something else. Piper nodded in agreement, but the only response from the other star darlings was laughter. And it wasn't just from Sage. What's going on? Astra asked, feeling irritated. Vega looked up from her Stars app guiltily. I found a holovid of you. You will not like it, this is true. She held up her Stars app and projected the image. It was of the star darlings sitting around their table in the Celestial Cafe a star week earlier, eating lunch. Astra and Piper watched in disbelief as Piper finished everyone's sentences, sometimes quite incorrectly, and Astra pulled one silly practical joke after another, pulling out a chair as Scarlet was about to sit down, switching Gemma's iced zing with Tessa's Aussie fruit juice, gluing a fork to the table. Oh, said Astra, feeling completely mortified. Piper blushed and looked at the floor. So, since you two were acting odd before the mission and then stopped once you got back, clearly something happened on the trip to reverse it, said Tessa. Maybe it has something to do with traveling through the atmosphere, suggested Clover. Astra frowned. I don't think that's it, she said. She began to pace the room, thinking. Did you do anything out of the ordinary on Wish World? Asked Gemma. Tessa perked up. Did you eat something different? She suggested. Oh, maybe it was the chocolate egg creams, Piper said. What's that? Tessa wanted to know. A delicious wishling concoction of seltzer, chocolate syrup, and milk, Piper explained. We each drank one. That must be it, said Tessa, licking her lips. How do we get one? Astra was not convinced. I just don't think that's it, she said. But what could it be? Absent-mindedly, she put her hands on the ground and flipped her legs into the air. There, that was much better. She did her best thinking upside down. She was sure of it. As she roamed the room, walking on her hands, she saw Cassie's silver slippers, Clover's purple boots, and the star ball she had been looking for a double star week. Then, she spotted a pair of bare feet, the toes sinking into the thick carpet. They had to belong to Piper, who often remarked that walking barefoot helped her relax. Astra noticed that Piper's toenails were a deep, sparkly blue, which reminded her of her mission and the slumber party they had attended, where they had given each other... Astra toppled over. That's it, she said from the floor. She was so excited she couldn't even wait until she stood up to speak. "It's the nail polish. Piper and I went to a sleepover and everyone gave each other manicures and pedicures. We had to take off our Starland polish first. And then, when we got back home, we could see that the rest of you were acting odd. All we have to do is remove your polish and everything will be back to normal." The Star Darlings headed straight to the Star Beauty Chambers in the Lightning Lounge, where they had put on the polish in the first place. They eagerly sat down and accessed the polish removal function. But when their hands emerged from the pods, the polish was as shiny and perfect as ever. Adora tried over and over to no avail. "It's no use, Adora," Cassie told her. "I can't believe none of you can hear me," Adora said. Cassie nodded. "You're right. This color does look great on me," she said. "But pretty as it is, we've still got to figure out how to remove it." She looked around at the group. "Moons and stars," she said. "Was I just bragging again?" They next tried to scrape it off with the scratchiest materials they could find: leaves from the rough tree, pieces of eternium wool, and prickly buds, but nothing worked. Adora ran off to her room and returned with Vanishaline, which smelled so terrible the girls down the hall came by to complain, but it didn't make a dent in the polish. As a last resort, they tried to scrape it off with Sage's crystal from the Crystal Mountains, the hardest substance on Starland, but even that didn't work. The nail polish was impervious to everything. The girls stared at their colorful nails in disbelief. "So how did you get yours off?" Leona finally asked. "With this magical wish world potion that they use at slumber parties," said Piper. "That's right," said Astra. "It's called the polish of removal. Whoever goes down to Wish World next has to bring this magic elixir back with them. Apparently, it's the only way to take this crazy polish off." "I am furious," Leona said. "So we have to wait, knowing we're acting like weirdos, and there's nothing we can do about it." She saw everyone staring at her. "I'm smiling, aren't I?" she asked. Astra sighed. She hoped someone would get sent down to Wish World and fast, to collect wish energy, and also to bring back the magical polish of removal. Because now, not only was everyone still doing the weird stuff, but they were annoyed with themselves for not being able to stop doing it. After everyone had left for their rooms, looking disappointed, and Clover had hugged her tightly before heading off to take a sparkle shower, apologizing as she did so, Astra picked up her Stars app. In all the excitement, she had completely forgotten to call the orphanage. She was eager to verify that Lady Stella was correct. There was enough going on without the Star Darlings distrusting their leader, too. Astra flipped open her Stars app. "Give me the numbers of all the orphanages in Starland City," she said. It turned out there was just one. A pleasant-looking woman with turquoise hair in a neat bun answered the call. "Starland City Home for Orphan Starling Children," she said. "Star greetings. How may I help you?" "I wanted to verify the name of one of your, orphans," Astra said awkwardly. "Her name is—" "I'm sorry," the woman interrupted. "Our students' privacy is very strictly maintained. We don't give out information about anyone over a communication device. If you want to request information on someone here, you must come in person." "How about I say her name and you nod if she's there?" Astra suggested. Rather cunningly, she thought. "Her name is The woman shook her head emphatically. "I'm sorry, but that is against the rules. Good night." The screen went black. Astra scowled, then consulted her star schedule. Her Chronicle class professor was out, so she had third and fourth periods free the next day. If she hurried, that was probably enough time to take a quick trip into Starland City. She holo-texted Piper. "Astra." You free third and fourth periods to take a little field trip tomorrow? Piper. Sure. I've got study hall, and Professor Roberta Elsa never takes attendance. Astra smiled. Piper didn't ask questions. She knew that if Astra asked, it must be important. Astra's Stars app beeped, and she realized that a holo message had come in while she had been talking to the unhelpful orphanage lady. She glanced down and saw that it was a holo card from her family. She opened it. Instantly, her mom, dad, and 2 younger siblings appeared in a small 3D holographic image, which beamed into the air in front of her. They sat around the dinner table, one chair noticeably empty. She could even smell the food they were having. Flug and beans, her favorite. Everyone immediately began talking over each other, as they always did. "Hope you are having fun at Starling Academy," her mom said tearfully. "I'm redecorating our room," shouted her little sister Asia. Their dad gave her a look. "Well, I'm trying to convince Mom and Dad anyway," she said. "More stuffed animals, fewer holo trophies." "She's kidding, Astra," her mom hurriedly interjected. "Your trophies and medals aren't going anywhere." "We miss you," they shouted, waving at her. Ajax threw a napkin at the camera, and then they were gone. Astra smiled. Her nice, normal, boring family. They didn't quite understand Astra and her relentless quest for greatness, both on the field and off. Maybe someday they would. Directly after second period, Astra headed for the hover bus stop, right outside the main entrance to Starling Academy. She stood under the canopy of kaleidoscope trees, the blooms slowly shifting from bright orange to sunny yellow above her head. She pulled out her Stars app and accessed the bus schedule. It would be arriving in a star-min and a half. Where was Piper? Just then, she heard footfalls and looked up to see her rushing across the street. Or Piper's version of rushing, which to anyone else looked like a leisurely stroll. Her seafoam hair fluttered around her shoulders, and she was wearing a long flowing dress as usual, plus a floppy hat. It wasn't a look Astra thought she could pull off, not that she particularly wanted to, mind you, but it seemed right on Piper. As the bus appeared in the distance, Astra filled Piper in. "We're going to the orphanage to locate Ophelia," she said, "and confirm the story. If all goes as planned, we'll be back in time for fifth period." "Good," said Piper. "We wouldn't want to miss color catching." The hover bus pulled up silently, and the side lifted to let them in, revealing starlings relaxing in comfortable chaises. The 2 girls stepped on board and settled into their seats. A bot conductor zoomed up to register their destination and collect their payment. They flashed their Stars apps. "You will reach your destination in 11 star mins," the bot said. "Have a pleasant ride." The bus had 2 rows of seats on either side, separated by an aisle. All the seats faced the windows so the riders could enjoy the scenery. Piper took off her hat, placed it on the seat next to her, and turned to Astra. "I'm actually looking forward to seeing Ophelia," she said. "She may have been a terrible star darling, but she really is a sweet girl." "Yeah," said Astra. "She is. It will be nice to see her, see how she's doing." She thought for a moment. "I really hope the news about her adoption is true." For Ophelia's sake, as well as Lady Stella's, she thought. Piper didn't answer. Astra looked at her. She had started meditating, sitting cross-legged with her hands, palms up, on her knees. Astra looked around at her fellow passengers, an elderly lady, cyber-knitting what looked like the world's longest scarf, a woman napping in the sunlight, 2 parents with a baby, and a boy, about Astra's age, engrossed in a holo book. His hair was deep indigo, and his skin a sparkly golden brown. He was wearing a school uniform, possibly from Star Preparatory, the all-boys school across Luminous Lake. Just then, to her dismay, he looked up, and their eyes met. He smiled at Astra, and she realized that her face was inexplicably getting warm. "What is wrong with you, Astra?" she thought. Her life, until that very moment, had been completely focused on sports, school, and recently the Star Darlings. Boys had never been a consideration. She simply didn't have the time or the interest. She looked away quickly and faced forward, staring out at the scenery. The rural surroundings of the Starling Academy campus gave way to suburban houses with big lawns, and then to city blocks tightly packed with stores and apartment buildings. The number of people and vehicles increased dramatically. What was she supposed to be focusing on? Oh, yes, Ophelia. Astra had bigger things to think about than boys from across the lake. Even very cute boys from across the lake. She snuck another look at him and immediately looked away. He was looking right back at her, a broad smile on his face. "He's cute," said Piper, her eyes still closed. "Piper," said Astra. "What are you talking about? You didn't even look." "I can just tell," she said with a secret smile. Piper could be spooky that way sometimes. "Whatever," said Astra irritably. "Our stop is coming up." The bot conductor zoomed over. "Your destination is approaching," it confirmed. The bus rolled to a stop on a busy street corner, and the door slid up. The two girls disembarked and consulted their star zaps for directions. "Excuse me," someone said. Astra and Piper turned around. Moons and stars. It was the boy from the hover bus. "You left this behind," he said, holding out Piper's hat. "Star salutations," said Piper. "How kind of you. I hope you didn't have to get off the bus early." "Oh, it's okay," he said gallantly. "I only had a few more stops to go. I'm going to the Abramovich Center to check out their interactive holo exhibit on wish energy kineticism." He suddenly looked bashful. "Besides, I wanted to introduce myself." Oh, he wanted to meet Piper. Astra felt a rush of disappointment. He turned to her. "You're Astra, right?" he asked. She started. "Yes. How did you know?" He gave her a big grin. "I'm a huge Starball fan, and you're one of the best players on Starland, that's how. I follow your stats. They're totally startacular," he said. "My name is Libo," he added. "Nice to meet you, Libo," said Astra. "This is Piper, by the way." Piper and Libo exchanged pleasantries. Then Libo turned back to Astra. "Well, see you around," he said. He waved to them both and was on his way. "Well, he was pretty cute," said Piper. "And he certainly has a crush on you, that's for sure." "Shut your stars," said Astra quickly. But she was secretly pleased. The two girls walked a couple of blocks to the orphanage and were soon standing in front of a building from a bygone era, made entirely of glimmering star marble and complete with intricate hollow glass windows in brilliant colors. "They don't make them like they used to," Piper remarked. It was such an old lady thing to say that Astra laughed. Piper gave her a look. "What's so funny?" she asked. At the top of the steep stairs was another old-fashioned touch, a wish energy bell pull. Astra concentrated on ringing it, and after a while, when she got the hang of it, the door slid open. They stepped inside a dark yet cheerful room. It was comfortable and cozy, with a large rug of old Starlandian design in the middle of the floor, overstuffed armchairs, and colorful pillows. On the walls were hollow photos of smiling kids and shelves full of hollow books. The receptionist, whom Astra had spoken to the day before, sat in front of a hollow screen, typing away on a hollow keyboard. "Star apologies," she said. "I'm under a deadline and need to file this report immediately. I'll be with you in a Starmin." Piper grew more anxious and Astra more agitated as a quarter star hour ticked by. Worriedly, Piper checked her stars app. Third period was over, and fourth was about to begin. Piper shifted nervously in her seat. Are you almost done?" Astra asked the woman. "Almost," she replied distractedly, as she frowned at the screen and began rearranging her text with a few carefully placed swipes. "There," said the woman, as she typed the final line and pressed send. She turned to the girls. "Star greetings," she said. "Star apologies for the delay. How can I help you?" "We're here from Starling Academy," Astra said. "We need to talk to a student named Ophelia." "Oh, Starling Academy," said the woman, appearing impressed. She took a closer look at Astra. "You look familiar. Did you hollow call yesterday?" "I did," said Astra. "You told me to come in person, so here we are." The woman's turquoise bun bobbed as she accessed the student schedules. "Ophelia is in Moonematics class right now. Let me see if she can be interrupted." She stood up and walked to a tall doorway. She paused before opening it. "Who should I say is here to see her?" she asked. "Astra and Piper," Astra said. "Astra and Piper from Starling Academy," said the receptionist. "I'll be right back." Several Starmins later, the door slid open, and the woman stepped back into the room. The door shut behind her. She was frowning. "I found Ophelia, but she says she doesn't know you, or anyone from Starling Academy." "No," said Astra stubbornly. "She definitely knows us. If we could just see her for one Starmin." The door began to slide open again behind the receptionist. Astra caught a quick glimpse of overalls and sneakers. "Ophelia!" Astra said. The door fully opened. There stood a girl of medium height with bright pink hair. "You're not Ophelia," said Astra. "I most certainly am," said the girl with a laugh. "I'm just not your Ophelia." "Star apologies," said Piper quickly. "Not necessary," said the girl. "Can I get back to class?" she asked the receptionist. "We're in the middle of discussing infinite integers." "Of course," said the woman. She turned to Astra and Piper. "I'm afraid that she's the only Ophelia in the whole place." Piper pulled out her stars app. "Can you just take a quick look at her hollow photo?" she said. She projected a picture of Ophelia, taken during a game of poses they had played one evening after dinner. Ophelia was balancing on one leg, looking sweetly serious. Astra could be seen in the background in the middle of one of her famous up-and-over star flips. The woman peered at the hollow photo and shook her head. "No, she doesn't look familiar at all," she said. "Star apologies, Starlings. I wish I could have been of help." Astra and Piper headed down the front steps dejectedly. "Maybe she's lying," Astra muttered. Piper gave her a quizzical look. "What reason would she have to lie?" she asked. "Somebody is lying, that's for sure. And her name is Ophelia."